Welcome to Frankly Developing. I'm your host Frank, and today I'm going to develop a simple math game for kids using AI. Because AI is supposed to replace us, I'm going to try to do the minimum amount of coding that's possible. And I'm going to use V0 and Cursor. You can see lots of videos on YouTube all over the place that develop crazy apps in 1 minute. So I left out some of the boring parts, like installing Cursor and so on. But we will look at all the things that go wrong on various levels of wrongness. And I'll give you some insight on my thoughts on that. Also, why it's actually working extremely well on that small demo scale. And how the problems I encountered hint at deeper, more foundational problems. And it might be kind of like a glimpse of what our work will change to be like in the future. So to get started, I'll first create a new Next.js app straight out of the tutorial. It's kind of boring, takes a while, and the best you can do during that time is just like the video, subscribe to the channel, so all that time gets passed and we start with an initial application. Next, we jump into V0 and start describing what we want to generate. So I want to make a small math game for kids. It should include a cute character that gives them support and guidance. Then the kid will answer math questions, one of each other, I guess, to progress in the game. And I give it some more guidance on how it should look like. So the math questions should be shown in a clean way. So I don't want all sorts of things in a clean style. And depending on the selected difficulty, well, while I'm describing style, I'm actually referring to difficulty, which is functionality here. The kids can select from multiple correct answers. So it's like a multiple choice kind of thing that you get. Or if it's a harder difficulty, of course, then, or she has to type her own answer to that. And let's try what comes out of that. You can see V0 starting to write some code, and then it'll start displaying the UI as it's currently being generated. It's quite nice how you can see it develop step by step. You can see it adding the check answer button, the difficulty levels, the answer choices, and so on. Well, let's take a look at what it tells us about the game that it generated. Cute character, a simple emoji character. Well, not what I had in mind, but it's a start and it's supposed to change expressions. Okay. Difficulty level, that actually looks good. It understood that just fine, apparently. Dynamic questions, that's really good, as I never wrote that in the instructions. So it was deriving that from the information that it's supposed to be a game. Really cool. Score tracking, same thing. I only wrote about kids somehow making progress, and that's a nice little interpretation of it, which serves as a good starting point. Responsive design, okay, just standard. Animations, cool, who doesn't like animation? So let's use that code it generated. Yeah, there's a copy button up there which gives you command, and you can run that command then, which will automatically integrate all of that code into your code base. Pretty cool. Let's run our game. That was developed crazy fast, right? So let's build it. Wait a bit, then open the page in the browser. It'll then compile the whole thing and show us the default Next.js page. Maybe we forgot something, so let's go back and check. Right, it told us to replace our main page file with this content. Let's copy that then and use Cursor to do the file replacement. Here's our generated math game file, all sitting there already. But let's do the replacement and then try out the result. Oh, that game I know quite well, though it's not the one I wanted to create. So let's go about fixing that problem. As I have no idea, let's just give that error message to the AI. It gives out a lot of possible reasons, which at least includes the correct one. The file for our math game needs to be in the same folder as the main page. Okay, so let's move the file to the right place. Yay, another error. I love that game. So let's play another round and give the error to the AI. It's a bit more confusing this time, but it eventually tells us to replace our game file with this new code. And the import is supposed to look different, although it looks the same to me. Let's switch to Cursor AI and ask that for help. That's not really helping either. So as a non-programmer, I guess this will be the first time that I'd be stuck. Instead, now let's just use the IDE to create the correct import by hand, and then try again. At this point, we got it working. We can play around with it, try a few inputs. We can also see the sad smiley when we make a mistake, but we also notice that it has like the same option available multiple times. But it's already pretty good, particularly as we essentially didn't need to have any coding skills at all. And I specifically chose to do it that way because I really don't know Next.js. I never worked with it. And here's my first Next.js app within just a few minutes. Let's do a bit more and fix something, like these duplicate numbers. So I just tell Cursor to make sure we got distinct values here. It starts reading our project and comes up with a piece of code that we should change. And we can just apply that to our code with the click of a button. We can reload the page to try it, but there's something strange happening here. At first it seems to work, but then the page gets stuck. It doesn't generate the next question, but also the buttons aren't reacting anymore. We just broke the whole game, just as fast as it was created. Here I'm putting on my developer hat and look at the newly generated code. And sure enough, there's a loop that has the potential to run infinitely. So I'm using my usual scientific approach to bug hunting, which you can learn about in this video. And I add a log statement to the loop and then check the browser's dev console to confirm my hypothesis. And yes, it's in infinite loop, blocking the entire game. Let's use Cursor AI to help us fix that bug. Knowing that this is an infinite loop, we can't just ask it to ensure it terminates. That's not exactly how I would have done it, but okay, let's roll with it. Some testing shows that indeed the new code works fine. Let's use Cursor now to add a feature. I want to add a medium difficulty that is almost like easy, but to make it more difficult, it'll subtract 1 from the score if you get it wrong. Cursor will work through that now and suggest a code change that I won't look at in more detail and just accept and take it over into the codebase. What happens is my biggest gripe with AI in its current state. We test drive the new feature just to find out that we have a regression bug. Already, it's apparently back with the infinite loop. Checking the source code confirms that adding the feature has also reset that loop to its previous state. Cursor even still shows my previous instructions to make it a terminating loop. So we'll have to do it all over again. Further testing is just fine, including the new medium difficulty state. So this is where I'll end this experiment and call it done. We have a simple game that supports 3 difficulty levels, and it really just took us a few minutes. In fact, the time I needed to edit this video far surpassed the actual time needed to create this game. Sure, I don't know much about video editing, and I'm most certainly way too slow with it. But then again, I also don't know anything about Next.js. And just learning that would have taken that much longer. So we were able to get a small game up and running in very little time here. Pretty awesome just on its own. But let me show you something more. Here I'm manually reverting back to the infinite loop code. And now imagine I'm not that good of a developer and just found out that my game is getting stuck. So I might ask Cursor AI to help me figure out what to do about it. And here are the answers. First, the use effect call might be at fault. Second is not another reason, but a dubious fix for the first. Third is about async state updates. The fourth one is a charming one. It's about that loop and that it might be a performance problem, but it actually says here, this is unlikely to cause hanging. Ouch. And then there's a final one about a set timeout. If I wasn't as good as a developer, this would not have been 1 minute of work, but lead me down the wrong path for a long time. And we've already seen that bug twice, during initial creation and after adding our first additional feature. There's so much I learned from this experiment that I'll do a separate video on that. For now, I hope you enjoyed watching this little game come to life. Let me know in the comments what you found most interesting about this. Thank you very much for watching and have fun developing.